Well, there you go. There's a GST Council meet that met this Sunday, revised tax rates in 66 cases of the 130 representations that it has received from industry. Let me just take you through some of the more important ones. First up, cinema tickets. So if it's priced above 100 rupees, the GST rate remains at 28%. If it's below, the GST rate has been cut to 18%. If you have children and they lack their coloring books, so that's going to attract a zero GST tax rate from now. Insulin, this should be good news coming in for the pharma companies as well as all of you that might suffer from diabetes. The insulin GST rate has been cut to 5%. You've also got things like achar, chutney, tomato ketchup, agarbattis, cutlery, exercise books. So here are some of the items. The finance minister did say a list will be released of all the 66 items where we have seen the rate cuts take place, and in perhaps a booster shot for the small and medium enterprises as well as the F&B industry at large. The GST composition scheme has been hiked from 50 lakh rupees to 75 lakh rupees, even though that may lead to some revenue being lost. Like the finance minister said, it will help keep these industries afloat and in job creation. So let's take this forward and discuss it with Satya Podar as well as Abhishek Rastogi. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here this Sunday on ET Now. Also, thank you for, it's a Sunday and you're not watching the crucial India-South Africa match like the rest of us. Mr. Podar, I'll come to you first. GST rates cut on 66 of the 133 items. Obviously, the finance minister hasn't gone through all of them. But let's just take the one about cinema tickets. A lot has been said about that because the states also have the freedom to levy entertainment tax. Are you satisfied with the relief measures announced today?
I think what they have announced is really very small concessions for the tickets below 100 rupees. In most of the urban centers, most of the tickets will be way beyond 100 rupees. But one of the reasons that tickets are so high today is because of the taxes. So if you look at the pre-tax price of 100 rupees, that can be a very substantial component of the movie admission tickets right now. So that's a welcome relief. Now, other thing actually, I think one of the most significant changes they've made is the cut in the job work tax rate from 18% to 5%. That is going to be a very significant boost to many of the exempt sectors who are paying 18% tax on production function basically, and that rate has been cut down to 5%. Particularly in the textile sector, what they had proposed was that the textile rate was going to be 5%, but no input tax credit will be allowed in excess of the 5% tax. Now, items like MMF yarn, all the synthetic products, as well as the job work, because a lot of job work is utilized in the textile industry. All of those taxes would have been blocked. So effective tax rates on the textiles would have gone up dramatically beyond the stated rate of 5%. So this cut in the job work rate from 18% to 5% is a welcome change. There's some more adjustment required, but all the changes, in my knowledge or in my view, are in the right direction. And I hope this process continues because we are not far from the happy equilibrium where the anomalies are fully addressed. And let's really hope that this process continues. Items are fewer and fewer, but still, for example, the taxation of lotteries, that still remains a pending item. And the ministers have decided to defer the taxation of lotteries to the next meeting, which is on June 18th.
Right. You know, before we go any further, gentlemen, I'm just going to play what Amit Mitra has told my colleague Adrija Chatterjee. It's very important because West Bengal has said it is not ready and will not roll out GST by 1st of July. Let's hear out Amit Mitra.
Amit Mitra here with us. You're a happy man today, sir. A lot of recommendations were accepted. Could you tell us one or two recommendations which clearly would help West Bengal to accept the GST? Do you think you're also going to roll out GST from July 1 now?
See, very important is that the labor-intensive sectors of India, I'll give you one example. 1,000 crores of investment is coming to West Bengal in leather from Kanpur. 1,000 crores will produce 6,000 jobs. Now you can spend 1,000 crores in an industry, you will employ 200, 300 people in large industry. Today there was a very big victory for the small and medium enterprises because we offered what is called a composition scheme where traders can pay only 1%, manufacturers only 2%, and restaurants only 5% if they chose to do so. So we already have below 20 lakhs, no tax. Below 75 lakhs, opt for composition scheme. So on the whole, the states were able to today show that jobs is what we want for India, and this is a big step forward to allow 20 lakhs no tax, above 20 lakhs up to 75 lakhs composition scheme. These are very big development. One of the purposes of GST is common people must benefit, small business must benefit, states at the same time. So that must also happen. So I think all those objectives were achieved.
So my second question, will West Bengal roll out GST from July 1?
अरे West Bengal कर रहा है भाई.
तो वो कैमरा पे बोल दीजिए सर. Please, it's going live, yeah. चलो ठीक है.
Well, that's perils of live television. Sometimes you get to see things that we may not have shown you otherwise. But that's Amit Mitra not wanting to say it on camera, but clearly telling correspondents there that West Bengal will roll out GST by the 1st of July, calling it a victory today for those SMEs as well as the textile companies. Now, that's something Mr. Podari was talking about. So I'm going to take that conversation now forward with Abhishek Rastogi as well. Hi, Abhishek. What would you say were the big takeaways for you besides the cinemas? News coming in for diabetics as well with insulin getting cheaper, children's coloring books, exercise books getting cheaper. But this seems to be a meeting which clearly centered around job creation, whether you look at the SMEs, manufacturers, F&B, textiles.
I think one of the most important development is with respect to raising of this composition scheme. There were a lot of debates and discussions around this aspect. And it was, under consideration whether this limit should increase to 50 lakhs and what should be the upper limit. And I think the decision with respect to this increasing of that limit for the composition scheme is indeed a very welcome move, because a lot of people who would now be within the turnover of 50 lakhs to 75 lakhs would get the benefit of this composition scheme. And I think most of the rate cuts today which have been announced, or the fine tuning which has been announced today, is with respect to a lot of representations which the government had received. And a couple of these decisions are really welcome. I mean, if you see the drawing books and the exercise books, drawing books today, if we see for children, today these are not taxable, and any rate on such books would have been a big hurdle to the industry. So I think while the drawing books have gone from 12% to exempt, there are certain categories of books which are still subject to taxes. Maybe the GST Council may do some thinking around such items for the next GST Council meeting. But I think also very important aspect is what they've done for cinemas, because the distinction between a 100 rupee ticket and the taxes on a ticket of a higher value makes much more sense. And most of these regional films which get released in a state may get the benefit because the ticket either there would be less than 100 rupees, or what he mentioned was a very brilliant idea that even the state still will have the power to give the benefit for those regional moves. So I think very important decision with respect to a lot of rates have been taken today, which is I think a very welcome move. With respect to job work, I think it is very encouraging to learn that a lot of these job work transactions with respect to jewelry, printing, textile, all that has gone down to 5%, and I think which is an exceptionally brilliant move, because few of these products today, like in the textile sector, may not have a higher brunt of 18% tax. So from that perspective, I think a very welcome move.
Okay, before I go to the other two new panelists that have joined us here, here's the Delhi Finance Minister talking to ET now.
डिवीजन हुआ है लार्जली जो मैंने उठाए भी थे अपने टीचर उठाए थे अचार चटनी नमक लार्जली जो 18% से उनको 12% लाया गया अचार का मुरब्बा वगैरह नमक किचन आइटम्स थे, किचन के जो थे, बच्चों की किताबें, जो पिक्चर बुक्स थी उनको एग्जेम्प्ट किया गया है, स्कूल बैग को नीचे लाया गया है, डायग्नोस्टिक्स जो 18% थे उनको 12% पर लाए हैं, काइट्स जनरली, कंप्यूटर प्रिंटर 28 से 18% पे लाए हैं, सीसीटीवी 28 से 18% पे लाए हैं, ऑप्टिकल फाइबर 28 से 18% लाए हैं। तो ये कुछ चीजें जो अच्छी हुई हैं, लेकिन कुछ चीजें जिन पे नहीं हुआ उनसे प्रॉब्लम भी है। मैं बार बार बात भी कर रहा था कि ग्रेनाइट, मार्बल, इलेक्ट्रिक आइटम, टिम्बर, नजर के चश्मे वगैरह, इन सब पर जो अगर हम 28% या 18% का टैक्स रखेंगे तो उससे ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम होगी आम लोगों को। घर महंगे होंगे, लोगों की रोजमर्रा की जरूरत की चीजें वो महंगी होंगी।
So can you say the same thing in English?
No.
Sir, can I take just 2 minutes?
Okay, so that's the Delhi Finance Minister also taking you through some of the items that have been reduced. Clearly a lot of relief that is coming for some food items, whether it is pickles, chutneys, tomato ketchup. He talked about computer printers, ball bearings. He's still unhappy, Manish Sisodia. There are a lot of items like marbles and granite. We've not seen further relief on that. I'm now going to welcome Mahesh Jaising of BMR as well, Bhavna Doshi into this conversation. Bhavna, let me come to you. Now, you know, for the last couple of weeks, in fact, since this government has entered the... Okay, I believe we have technical problems with Bhavna. I'll go to Mahesh. Mahesh, you know, for the last couple of weeks, we have been hearing the government come under pressure when it comes to job creation. Today at the GST Council meet, you've heard the Finance Minister talk about job creation with respect to SMEs, textiles, F&B, manufacturing, with what he's done with the composition scheme, as well as a special relief for the textile industry. How significant is this according to you?
I think it is indeed very significant because clearly with the threshold moving up, and GST tax clearly was positioned as one of the blockers in terms of growth for these sectors, in terms of job creation. I think it's really welcome. I did read that from 133 representations that they received in terms of 133 categories, almost 65 products have come down and a lower rate has been imposed. So I do think, while I will wait for the fine print, I do think a quick reaction is that all of these representations have been taken constructively. For example, the one on printers, I think that's a welcome one because that even supports the government's Digital India program. It was under the 28% category. I know the sector was actively involved saying it needs to come down to 18. CCTV cameras from a security standpoint also at 28 coming down to 18. I do think different pockets of engagement that industries had with the government. I'm going one step beyond the announcement around the employment, that the engagement and proactiveness of addressing concerns is indeed going to get India Inc. excited about GST more and welcome GST even more.
Okay, and before we go any further, here's the Kerala Finance Minister now talking to ET Now.
Sir, many thanks for speaking to us at ET Now. A lot of revision has happened at the rates in this meeting. Could you highlight some of them for us?
Well, some of the products, not many. What we did was very principled review. We took the existing tax incidents. We decided in no case it will go beyond the existing tax incidents. And in many it will reduce. So figures, etc. It's a long list, 136.
The reason why composition scheme has been changed?
That's the most important change that has come. The composition scheme, the limit has raised to 75 lakh rupees.
Right.
Because some provides additional protection to SME sector.
As far as key products, food items are concerned, like ketchup, pickles, what is the rationale behind reducing the rate for these products?
Well, whatever reduce, it was taken in consideration with the existing tax incidence.
Right.
If it was below the one that the GST Council decided, it was allowed to be reduced. Otherwise, we have kept them all at the same level.
Since the e-way bill has still not been decided, could we say that...
the state of Kerala will continue with our declaration system. We don't accept that without e-way bill that all forms can be given up. No, we don't accept that.
And how soon could we, expect a consensus on the e-way bill, and won't we be cutting it too fine?
Yes, we'll be cutting it to fine, but it is for the central government to take the call. We are ready.
All right, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, so Kerala also ready for the 1st July rollout. Bhavna Doshi, give us an idea of how prepared industry is. The finance minister once again saying it doesn't matter. He's firm on the 1st July rollout. Everybody's going to have to get prepared. So my first question to you is the GST registration that's finishing on the 15th of July, the 15th of June. Do you think it's going to have to be extended?
I'm sure it will have to be, because there are a lot of challenges which people are facing today. In fact, digital signature, several people have said that they are just not able to register the digital signature, so therefore they are not able to complete the process. Then there are people who have multiple offices in a state, and again there they are not able to put in all the information and the details that are required to be placed on the website, so therefore they are also not able to complete the process. So perhaps I think that's where government will have to really have a look again, and a hard look, to see what is the minimum information they need to have a person on the books, on their books, and whatever is the extra information they are seeking, they'll have to say either we'll take it later, or some of it they may have to do away with.
Right. Satya Padar, you were making the point that it's not so much of a relief that you're seeing as far as the movie exhibitors and the cinema goers go, but looking at all of the other items, particularly for packaged food, tractors, ball bearings, that should have a cascading impact, right, on inflation?
Yes or no? In many cases, there was an inverted duty structure. Tax rate on the final output was lower than the tax rate on the inputs that go into the production. The best example is the tractors. Tractors have the tax rate of 12%, but all the parts that go into tractor and manufacturing are at 28%. So there was no way that you can have such a hugely inverted duty structure. Now the tractor manufacturers would have had to wait for months and months to get a refund of those excess credits. In many cases they can't even get the refund. So it was quite logical for them to lower the tax rate on tractors from 28% to 18% or even lower rate. Now second example where this inverted duty structure was very problematic was in the case of synthetic fabrics. Synthetic fabrics are taxable at 5%, but yarn, synthetic yarn, was at 18%, and in this industry the job work is very common. A typical manufacturer of synthetic fabrics may outsource 98% to 90 to 95% of inputs, and only thing it keeps is its profit margin. And most of the inputs are coming in at 18%, while the tax rate is only 5%. The effective tax rate on fabrics goes from 5% to almost 12, 13, 14%. So that's one area where the government has taken appropriate decision of lowering the tax rate on job work from 18% to 5%. One particular item that I find very peculiar is to lower the tax rate on cashews from 12% to 5%. Now why have they chosen to lower the tax rate only on the cashews? I eat almonds, I eat raisins, I eat all walnuts. Why should I be punished for consuming those products and be rewarded for consuming cashew nuts? So I don't really know whether the government is going to lower the tax rate on competing dry fruits or keep the tax rate only at 5% for the cashews.
Well, we don't know all the 66. Well, to be fair, we don't know what all the other 66 items, maybe some of the nuts that you like will be part of that. Okay, before I come to the other panelists, here's the Punjab Finance Minister talking to ET now.
For speaking to us at ET now. Let me first begin by talking about the key issues that have been taken with respect to revision of rates, but aren't we cutting it too fine with respect to the July 1st rollout?
Well, I think mentally states are prepared for the 1st of July, and even if we were to postpone it, the same issues would remain. So I think the test is that we should bite the bullet, go ahead with it. So Punjab is actually in favor of 1st of July, and there would be minor glitches and teething problems. I'm sure we'll be able to deal with them.
So how are you ensuring that your state officials as well as a lot of MSMEs and traders are on board with respect to the softwares that are required for GST and how ready they are with respect to adoption of goods and services tax?
Well, we have put a large number of officers through the training process. So a lot of them have been certified as fully trained. And we've been having meetings with various industrial and traders associations. And I think Punjab is ready, and we are looking forward to this.
All right. My last question, the issue of hybrid cars has still not been taken up. Any key reason behind it, and can we expect revision in the next meeting?
In the hybrid cars?
Yes.
I think this point was raised very strongly by Karnataka. I think it's still being debated, but I think Karnataka has a fair point, and hybrid cars should be taxed less than the normal cars.
All right. Many thanks for speaking to us, sir.
Okay, so we might get to see some action on hybrid cars. I'll tell you what, let's wait for the 66 items, the tax cuts that have been decided by the GST Council meet. And at this juncture, since we're running out of time on this edition, I'd like to thank all my panelists for joining us on this Sunday with their views. We'll let you get back to that crucial India-South Africa match as well. Thank you very much for watching this ET Now special.
Top of the world with Times Network. And you're watching